Right, welcome, yes, to the podcast, the Gentleman Ultra and the Calcio blog back together again after a little slight hiatus, but it's been a bit of a manic couple of weeks for us both, I know. So we won't go too much into detail, but we've managed to finally find some time together again.
Yeah, 100%. Here, there, and everywhere, and for many, many different reasons. And but yes, back talking Italian football, which is
That's it, yep.
where we want to be. And
Yeah, a lot has
lot's
happened, or hasn't happened, but
A
a
lot.
lot's going on. Yeah, so
Yeah, massively. From refereeing decisions to all sorts, really. But where do you want to start?
where should we start? I mean, we should start really at the top and work our way back down, right? So the big question is, of course,
Yeah.
after this weekend, does anyone even want this Scudetto this season? Because I was at the Inter game on Saturday. I was at the San Siro, and it was terrible. Inter were really poor. I know you can't say too much, obviously, down that respect, but creatively there was
Well,
zero, essentially. You know, it was a real struggle, a real tough watch, and just felt like Atalanta goal was definitely coming at some point, and it came very close to the end, and not really enough time to do anything about it. And then Sunday night, Milan went one worse, basically, and lost against Lazio. Their big chance to shut the gap to 5 points, and Inter somehow pulled away. So I guess we start there. Does anyone even want this league this season?
I was thinking about this because when you look at it at the beginning of the season, I would like to take myself back to then because I remember, and I think even doing like with the Inter podcast, I don't think any of us were shouting about the fact of, obviously with Inzaghi going, it was a bit of the unknown, so it was almost what's going to happen with Kivu. I think from outside the Inter camp in general, people probably thought he'd be gone by Christmas. There was always that speculation. I don't think it was the most overwhelmingly popular appointment. And when you look at it now, you can say there's been some fantastic stuff played over that time period. Milan and the Max, was anyone really backing Milan for the title? I think the question really goes, I think a lot of people were saying it's Napoli. I think because Juventus were never really put in that position. And it was always, it's going to be Napoli and can Inter do anything? And now when you look at it, I think to answer that question is to go back and think, who did we really think was going to win it in the first place? Because I can't say that I was hand on heart thinking it was going to be Inter. But now, if you'd have said to me at the beginning of the season, would I trade off for where we are? Yes.
Yeah, it's a funny one, isn't it? Because, I mean,
I don't know.
I always had Milan in the back of my head because, much like last season, I don't think anyone thought Napoli would be able to come back from where they were 2 years ago to win the league, and they did because they didn't have any European football was the big key. They were refreshed. They had a lot of time on the training ground, and I thought that would play into Milan's hands. Conversely, for Inter last week, it did the opposite. Inter didn't have any European football last week. They got 5 days on the training pitch. Atalanta got absolutely pumped midweek and looked a much fresher, much more energised team for it on Saturday afternoon. So, yeah, I guess it is one for me now. It showed how really creatively lacking they are without Çalhanoğlu and Lautaro on the pitch.
Yeah.
I think normally if there's one of them on the pitch, we will tend to get through a game, won't we? But without them both, it was a real struggle. I mean, Marcus Thuram is a shadow of the man that he can be. He sort of sulks around the pitch, not really doing anything. Pio did his best. It was strange to see him come off and Bonnie come on for him rather than the other way around. I thought it would have been Marcus off and Bonnie on there, but yeah, there was a few odd decisions for me. Luis Enrique for DeMarco. DeMarco wasn't having a fantastic game, but he always can produce something, can't he? I don't like Luis Enrique.
Yeah, massively. I think more so as well because like you say, when Hakan's not on the pitch, sometimes there's not a huge amount of creativity, and you are relying then. I know Denzel's only just coming back in, but you look at that, and normally with DiMarco and Denzel, at least when we don't have that creativity, we often do play almost in straight lines, and it is that massive counter. It is coming out of the back from Bastoni, Barella, and that transition, and then we're off. But when that's a bit flat, you tend to find yourself looking for Mkhitaryan sometimes in the middle, and that doesn't really hold us together. But look, a draw game. If you take the Bayern game out, for me, I said this on social media. The Milan game was a bigger disappointment because I think that was the one where it could have been really put a marker down. Atalanta, if we take away Bayern, a draw against Atalanta is never a bad result. I suppose in the manner of it, yes, it is. But I don't know. Talking about this, yeah, obviously Milan have got to try and do something there. But I saw that game against
They were
Lazio and
really
thought they were
poor, yeah. I
tepid.
mean, it was a we were
They
in,
did,
we were at Zanetti's restaurant actually on Sunday night, just to drop that name in there. But it was, so it was on, but obviously, you know, we're having dinner, we're chatting, so we're sort of back and forth between it. So I wasn't paying a great deal of attention to it, but I never once saw a Milan sort of attack with any note to it.
no, it's a couple of shots from distance, and there's one that nearly dipped. But realistically, you weren't seeing a team that. Again, you can argue the same with Inter. There were, like you say, go back to the original question. None of those
Mm.
teams on the weekend looked like they wanted to win it. It's a strange one, really. I don't know if it's a bit of trepidation or the pressure. I don't know. But, Inter have got no excuse for it because the players have been there before, and you look now, and I've said this, I think we said it a couple of podcasts ago, that, slowly next season, we're going
Yeah,
to see
they will.
Juventus add into this mix. And what you're getting all of a sudden is this, where we had an opportunity for me to and this isn't the Inter podcast, I know, but we had the opportunity to fly away in a sense and really put down a mark. And now, it feels like whatever the result of this Scudetto, whoever wins it, we're just opening up next season to be great for the
Mm.
neutral, of course, but there's going to be a fair old few swingers there for that one, aren't there? A few big
Yeah,
hitters who
gonna
are
be,
thinking, right, it's only a good transfer window for Roma. Who've looked, well, Roma looked a bit crap on the weekend. Sorry, poor on the weekend. Again, there's a few teams that
yeah,
could start to
yeah, and
contest it.
it brings us on quite nicely into one of the other things I wanted to talk about is, do you think how far away do you think we are from a Como contest in the title? Obviously not this season, probably not next season, but are they building closer? Are they?
It's a strange one with Como, because we've talked about them before, and I know that everyone's sort of, listen, I'm not being all football hipster and being like, well, I was there before they were big or all that. I'm not going to go and buy a Seb Pauli shirt and pretend I'm amazing. But the point being is that, 10 years ago, whatever, going out there and seeing, I've always told a story about the guy pushing the trolley throwing water bottles out of the stadium. It was that the grass was overgrown and it was terrible. And now it's great to see them in the shape and the form they're in. Fabregas is doing an amazing job. And yeah, and I even understand to a point of what the owners are trying to do, this whole idea, this isn't a football club, it's a brand. You can't do that with every football club. You could probably
Yeah.
do it with Monaco, you can do it with Como. It makes sense to a point. But whether they can, I mean, they're
They're
rich
something
club
like
in
the
Italy,
richest
aren't they
club in the
now?
world, I think, with the owners, but it's, obviously
Something like that,
you're
yes.
bound by the rules of what you can spend and when, aren't you? But I think owner-wise, they're very rich.
Of course, whether it's, I think you're looking, you need to get hold of Fabregas and keep hold of him. And I think that realistically, I don't know about a title challenge. I definitely think Champions League. I think there's not even a question that, we should see that. Again, you do find that some of these clubs, it's difficult to maintain it with the infrastructure they have. And you've been, that stadium, realistically, I mean, half it looks like it's been stolen
Yeah,
from a
it's
golf complex, for
yeah,
the Royal Open or something. It's like, it's just metal. And that's it. The regen of that stadium, whether they could do it, there is a little bit of land. They'd have to sort of build
yeah.
over the yacht club to do
No,
it. I don't know if they could do it. Would they move it? Does then you lose
you
the
see, yeah,
location, the brand element to it? There's all these different things, and like you say, you can't just go and just blitz the money anymore. They have to, like all the Italian clubs, make something more of it. So I definitely think that attract players. It's the whole thing when in English football, people say people sign for London teams in London rather than Newcastle. For instance, no disrespect for Newcastle, but it's just a fact. And it's a fact that people will sign for Como over going to, I don't know, Udine maybe,
yeah.
even though Udine's a nice place. It's just one of those situations. So whether they can keep it in that bracket, yeah, but I don't know. I've just got something where I can't see them. For Italy, it's very difficult to break into. I know they said the Seven Sisters, but it's difficult
Yeah,
to
yeah,
break into it.
100%. Yeah. I mean, one of the questions that gets raised a lot about Como, and I'll pose it to you, is they paid an Italian player for 17 minutes this entire season. I'm sure I saw some stat like that the other day. Are they helping Italian football by exposing the brand and exposing the league, or are they ruining Italian football by refusing to play any Italian players? Or is that something the Italian league is doing to itself by not developing them properly?
I think the Italian league by just being the Italian league, is its own sort of the biggest purchaser of doom that it could possibly be itself. It's like almost like how do we brand what once in Italianity in the 90s and 80s was this beautiful brand? It's almost like, I don't know, they've taken a Ferrari and drawn a swastika on it. It's just like, why? It's just, the things that the Italian football does to self-sabotage is quite phenomenal. So I don't think when you look at Como, I suppose in one respect, what's weird is maybe Como are actually looking outside the box a bit for Italian football, and they are thinking, right, how do we do things a little bit differently? How can we break the mold? And it's very, very difficult. And for people who don't watch a lot of Italian football, it's going to be really hard to understand that. But, how many stadiums, we've talked about this before, how many stadiums have been proposed and not happened? There's so many different elements to Italian football that just is so bizarre that it is self-sabotage. It's Como doing this. Yeah, but from a traditionalist sort of view, for me personally, and I know for you, you look at it and you think, you kind of like the old. It might be broken and it might be knackered, but it's the other. What's your end result? The Premier League? People would say, yeah, and that's great. And that's great if you love that. But for me, no. So in a way, it's disappointing to see the lack of Italian players. But I would also go to the point of, I've been saying this for years, going back to 2000 and God knows where. How many teams in Serie A don't use their youth
Every
system
single
properly?
one.
Most of them.
I saw a post about
Yeah, exactly.
the young Italian, I can't remember his name now, off the top of my head, at Dortmund, becoming the youngest ever Italian scorer in Bundesliga. And someone just quote tweeted it and said, yeah, but if he stayed in Italy, he'd be on loan at Cittadella now.
Yeah, 100%. Because for some reason, they get loaned
Yeah,
down till they're
yeah,
like
yeah.
26.
In that respect, P.O. Esposito has really broken the mold a little bit in that respect, and hopefully his success might see more Italian clubs gamble on their kids, but it's not really in vogue, is it?
Well, no, I mean, and that's probably only because Kiwi's work with the youth system, but there's other players down there that we've not
Mm,
seen come through as well, as much as we should. I know there's been, say, 5 or 6, especially with the Coppa Italia, sort of been on the bench a bit, and it's not been a problem. But there's like you've looked down the past, and I think Atalanta, of
mm,
course, have tried to do it at certain times, and they've probably been the best ones over pre-Gasparini. But because I know he had sort of a bad harvest, for want of a better word, with his youth squad. But even now, they had a good under 23 squad probably 3-4 years ago, and we've
mm.
not seen any of that come through. So yeah, it is a bit of a mismatch. But with Como, it's new, isn't it? I mean, I don't think they will have that infrastructure, and at the moment. But yeah, it is strange that there's not more, because it's a very
Yeah, I mean,
agreeable place to be.
Fabregas, I
So
mean, this was a few months ago, wasn't it, when he was quoted as saying he wants to give opportunities to Italian players, but they're just not good enough. Okay.
I don't
You
buy
think that
that.
was a bit of a lip service from him,
I
did it?
don't buy that, because I'm not saying I know more than Fabregas, but I get that if your team is full of
Mhm,
players as good as Paz, and they have got a very good interchangeable team. But I don't think that, there are players in Italy who there are Italians who do like to stay in Italy. It seems
mm,
to be quite a common part of that. They don't all want to move abroad. It's more a bit odds for that. But, if you look at a player, I don't know why I'm thinking of, you look at players coming to their sort of mid to end of career, like, 28, 29. I still think, if you're not getting into one of the Juves, the Milans, oh, why wouldn't you go there? And also as well, saying they're not good enough. I think that, like I said, I could go through. Look at the goal. I think, what's his name? Not Butek, the keeper.
yeah,
It is, isn't it?
yeah, yeah.
Como's keeper. Yeah, but he's really, really good. Don't get me wrong. He's been one of the best players for them this season. But you're not telling me he's not a goalkeeper. Like if they'd have gone for
Mhm, yeah.
Caprile, for instance, or Perrin. He's not. Those goalkeepers for me are better than him.
Do you think
So
there
no,
should be a
I don't
problem,
particularly agree with that.
there should be a law that prevents teams from playing 11 foreigners? I mean, I know in England you have to have, is it 3 homegrown players, at least in your starting 11, 5 in the matchday squad or
Yeah,
something like that?
seems
Do you
like it.
think they should bring that into Italy? Will that help the league, or is it gonna weaken it further?
I mean, again, you look at it from two ways. I think from a traditional value and from what the brand actually is, it would help the league because, you watch football because you like Italian culture, you like that element to you want to see Italian players as well as the foreign players. I mean, listen, if it was up to me, I'd go right back to the 80s and there'd be only 3 foreign players. But, it's like that's going to go down well. But at the same point, as a business that Como are, it's a brand business. It's not even, as they self-proclaimed, it's not just a football club,
Mhm.
is it?
Yeah.
It's a brand as well. And so for that point of view, your appeal is global. So your team can be global. And I think that realistically, if money's coming through the turnstiles and coming through the books in whatever way, shirt sales are going, then it doesn't really matter where they come from. So from
Yes.
that
Oh,
point
no,
of view,
I'm
I don't
sure
think they care.
no one from Como is gonna listen to our conversation and be deeply hurt by it. It is a conversation being had among Italian football fans. I mean, one, but you mentioned Italian players don't really leave Italy, and I'm springing this one on you. We didn't discuss this before, but I got a notification just before we came on my phone saying that a very big Italian player is being linked with Barcelona and Chelsea at the moment, and Manchester United, I believe, is Alessandro Bastoni. Do you think there's a
I
chance he leaves
saw,
Italy
yes.
this summer? You're just calling zero on that, yeah?
No, I definitely don't. No, I mean, I don't think. Look, I know there's been a bit of criticism of him, a bit of unrest around it, but I think it's just because of Inter's current, run of results. I don't think so. I mean, look, how many times? I think when there's a core group there, isn't there? You've got the likes of Lautaro, you've got Bastoni, you've got Barella, you've got the likes of Di Marco. There's certain players that have been linked. No one ever talks about Di Marco being one of the best left wing backs in the world, and then all of a sudden he scores a screamer, and next thing Manchester United are buying him tomorrow. So for me personally, it's like, no, I don't think so. I don't. Would he fit? Probably could fit anywhere. He's that good, that the passing range he's got, he's athletic and everything else. But I just feel that, yeah, I still think Inter have got with this team one or two more years to sort of start to rebuild it. And I think those are core players are going to be really
Okay.
key to still being there.
So before we finish, because we don't only talk about the top, there was a very big, well celebrated
We
promotion
do.
last night. Vicenza slowly working their way back. They will be playing Serie B football next season. Have you seen any of the videos, any of the celebrations that have been going around social media? It looks like
Yeah,
it was a
yeah.
bit of a wild night there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's brilliant, isn't it? I always like when you see clubs that you. I know this is again of a certain vintage. We talk about it a lot, but if you go back to that sort of late 80s, early 90s, mid 90s, and those teams, you can list so many off. They're like, household names in a sense of. It's like when
Mhm.
Cremonese came back up to Serie A. It's brilliant because you just remember those teams and you think, wow. Even back to the day when they had Anders Limpar, you're
Wow.
like, wow,
I
going
mean,
very far
if we're
back.
going to talk,
Just
if we're going
throw
to,
that one in
yeah,
there.
just to give a bit of context then for younger listeners, Vicenza obviously they won the Coppa Italia was 95, was it 96? 95, and then they got to the
95.
semi-final of the European Cup Winners' Cup, where they lost to Chelsea over 2 legs at Stamford Bridge. Yeah, yeah. So I think
It's
they win the first leg 1-0 or something, or it was 1-1 maybe. I can't remember. So I was only about 8 years old at
think
the time.
so. I think so. You ask it. It's the
Yeah.
thing is that kit's iconic. I mean, obviously, it's iconic because
Started his career
Baggio, of
down there, didn't
course,
he? Yeah.
came for there. Yeah. Baggio's early haunts there. And I think he just has that I mean the stadium as well. It's just got a
Mm.
really nice atmosphere. And it is a bit iconic. And I think that I don't know, it's one of those kits, isn't it?
Yes.
You just sort
I
of
will be I
gravitate
will be making a
towards
purchase
and
at some point, yeah.
I think, yeah, definitely. It is one of those, especially the badge is cool.
Mm.
Everything about it's pretty cool. It's one of those because there are teams that sort of come up, and you mentioned like Cittadella before, and it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
no offense to them at all, but it's like it doesn't have that same sort of real feel of the history of. Obviously, they've been big in the past as well, so it's brilliant. It's a
Mm.
brilliant story, and eventually, you
Back in the
never
promised
know.
land. Yeah, I mean, they'll be playing one coach they'll be going up against next season, it looks like, if he stays, is Ashley Cole. In one of the more bizarre twists.
Yeah,
I was in Milan Saturday morning, I picked up a Gazzetta, and
yeah,
there was a picture in
oh
an article
yeah.
about Ashley Cole in
So
there. I thought, "What's this about?" So I put the Google Translate on it, and it's yeah.
I'm not actually. I've been fairly busy today. I was going to try and read up on something because I did go. I think it was on. And This is a compliment to Football Italia because they're always up with the. I love them still do a bit for them. But I need to read the article again because he went. Italian media says that Ashley Cole is a bad choice, and it went down for Cesena. So I'm like, okay, and it just basically said Ashley Cole's been employed in Cesena, as if to say, well, that's
Yes,
no
yeah,
good.
because
Where's the
is there a
reasoning?
connection?
Where's
Is
the
there an
problem?
ownership, connection with Ashley Cole or something? I don't know, but
Yeah.
it's, yeah, it was bizarre when I came across it the other day.
It's what have they got now? They're gunning for promotion. They've had obviously bad results. Obviously lost to Spezia actually, 40. So they've not been doing particularly well, but they really are still in that promotion bracket. And it just seems of okay, your recent results haven't gone well, but why?
I don't
Why? It's
listen, I
like
don't know if Ashley Cole's
how
got
many
a
games
great
left to
record
go?
in coaching before.
8?
I don't think has he managed elsewhere? I know he's been on the coaching staff at various clubs, but I don't think he's managed, has he?
Coaching staff. No. So it just seems like when you're really gunning for promotion to Italy's top tier. No, and this is nothing against Ashley Cole at all. I mean, he's probably
Yeah,
could be a really
he
good
might
coach in
prove us all
interviews
wrong, yeah.
well. I don't know, but then yeah, exactly. But he just did come out
Mm.
of nowhere because, yeah, I just wonder when he gets on the bench if he just stands a
There
little
was a
bit
few
away from
Photoshop
everyone.
pictures for of the Chesney team, yeah, yeah, with Ashley Cole the other side of them, yeah, yeah. So listen, watch this space. We'll see how it plays out. Yeah. I mean, is there anything else you want to talk about before we wrap this all up? Is there anything burning that we've not mentioned?
No, nothing major. I was going to talk to you about. We'll have to do another one. Maybe we'll have to double up maybe at some point because we need to. You've been all here, there, and
Added a few
everywhere. I want to
MRs.
talk about Venice
So
and
yeah, Venezia
trips
was
to
2 weeks
Venezia as
ago.
well.
That was
Yeah,
fantastic. Yeah, we'll do a whole pod on Venice. I mean, they could have their own one. It was brilliant. But then yeah,
yeah,
this weekend was
100%. So
Inter
there's that,
and
and
then
then
Hellas as well. Yeah, I finally got to the Bentagode. So that was an eye opener. There was obviously with
well,
fellow TGU
I
man
know.
Rick
Well,
Howe. He was there kind enough to show us around. So
maybe we said you kindly messaged me from a bar, FaceTime me from a
yeah, we
bar
were a
in
little worse for
Verona.
wear. I don't know if you could tell by
We
that
did
point,
say at
but
that point if you guys. Yeah, well, you do realize that well, you will tell him that he has
yes, yeah,
agreed
yeah,
to come
he's
on the
on, yeah, yeah.
podcast as well. So yeah, he's supposed to be doing it this week, next week. So maybe we go through all the trips and travel from Venice to Verona.
Yeah, 100%. Right. Well, let's sign off for now then. Give everyone their afternoon back, and we'll hook up again next week.
Yeah, I'll get ready to go and watch
Yeah,
Spezia
there's a lot of
tonight.
beef
So
football tonight. I'm at Gillingham
yeah,
versus
see how
Swindon
that goes.
tonight, so I'll be following from my phone. But based on the last couple of Gills results, I might be out of there early.
Well, I
Yeah,
think both of us are gonna have a bad night then.
loving. Cheers.
All right, ciao for now.
No, stopping. There you go. Stopped. Wonderful.